Yesterday I did not get a practice in on Allegro. It just did not happen. I was able to get other practice in. I kind of look at it as an active rest from the Allegro third movement project. It's something for me to think about for the coming days and weeks, how I can implement active rest and still be progressing. It's become a part of my routine, however early in the process I am. And having it on my mind means that I'm going to make more progress because I'm thinking about what I've been doing and how I might adjust certain things, but picturing what I'm doing. Some other things that I've thought about too are ways that I can adjust how I am approaching it, how I'm practicing, like a strategy that I'm using. Right now, I am using my 8 elements of practice. I'm going to be thinking about other plans, kind of like a workout plan. You can work throughout that week, but in the grand scheme of things, you are doing certain exercises one week, and then the next week you're going to do similar movements but different angles or even different exercises that will still work out that muscle, and then you change that plan so that you don't grow stagnant, so you can continue to see progress even in the longer term. Guitar is mental and physical. There's like a synergy of the two, and I can map out plans that I can use. However, I'm also going to have to play this by ear because as a teacher I know that with my students I have to be able to evolve at any given moment because I'm the teacher and the student for this project. I have to watch how I'm working my mood and motivation, and each of those little aspects of myself are going to make a difference in each practice. Am I feeling this type of practice this week? Should I push myself to do it, or does it make more sense to make an adjustment so that I am taking full advantage of where my mind and my body is in that moment? So it's a constantly dynamic learning process as I'm looking at my 8 elements of practice. I have been ticking off each one of the practice elements for the most part, but thinking about making it happen more often, every one of them. Currently, I've been practicing a little every day, even with the other day that I didn't quite, well, I would say I didn't at all physically pick up my guitar. It was on my mind. So technically I was getting practice in, it just wasn't the kind that I had hoped for. Specific times for practice or specific focuses, either one of those two, it has been turning out to be mornings and evenings and sometimes in the middle of the day. So I am getting the specific times. At some point later on in this, I foresee that there will be sections of this song that I am going to attempt, but then I'm going to have to probably put down and move on. I am looking at the tabs for this and having to make adjustments because what I have seen for how this is tabbed out doesn't always seem to make sense to me for how I would move, especially at the speed that I would be moving, but it helps me to figure out my movements and what's going to make the most sense to flow comfortably. The idea for me is learn the easiest parts first, then come back to work on the harder parts, and then as a whole I can start to work on the quality and technique that is involved in all of them. Doing pretty good with this whole process so far. I feel pretty positive and confident about how things have been moving along. This keeps me accountable. I noticed that I was having some issues with the run of notes. I'm finding that my process of learning and memorizing is that I'll get really comfortable with seeing it on the sheet music and following it, and then I start to get better with learning bits and pieces without looking. Previously, I was finding that every time I looked at my hands, I would have mistakes. So I'm starting to see that my process, it kind of is getting the sheet music visual better, get better with the memory side, and then periodically will be looking down at my hands to just try to focus memory as well as seeing this different perspective of looking at my hand so that I catch all 3 elements. Eventually I want to phase out the sheet music side of it and really focus on the other 2, which is having it by memory and not having to look at all, but also having it by memory and being able to look at my fingers just in case, like for instance, spotting my next move. I want to be able to look at my hand without it completely derailing my playing. I built it up to 60%, and for the most part I can get 45 measures. My focus was 41, but I was able to add another 4. They're a little bit messy. Let's see how it sounds at 60%. points that it should not have. I'm gonna go back to the second half, because that is particularly where things got ugly. What is happening there? So that new part there is definitely going to need some work. I might have to actually change some of the fingering. I have to figure that out. We'll see.